And I feel like personally, we need to stop using the word racism when we don't get something or when something don't go our way. And just
let me jump
trying.
in real quick. No disrespect, but racism exists, and I have to acknowledge it. And I can't just ignore it. But what I can do is not buy into the system.
I need to start wearing pants because I don't like having my legs just showing, but I like to sit pretzel style. And some people think that's weird, but it's so comfortable. Oh, so comfortable.
Slavery affected my family.
Oh, woo! Wait,
yeah,
hold on.
I mean, that's
look at this right here. How aren't the Africans the Africans, how are they saying that slavery didn't affect their family when all of Africa was pretty much colonized? Now, I don't know much about African history. I know enough about it, but I don't know as much as I should know, right? But for the most part, all of Africa has been colonized. And from colonization is a part of that process. Isn't slavery a part of that process? I don't know.
And my last name, King. I mean, that's the brand of the slave owner that put that name on my family all those years ago, and I'm still wearing it in those ways, along with the compounded, economic disparity, social disparity, mental trauma, all of that. I mean, it's tethered forever.
So to go back to slavery and talk about post-traumatic stress disorder, it has never stopped. So there is no post. What my great-grandparents were teaching my grandparents, who taught my mother, who taught me, came from what they learned through slavery. So there's a lot of fear, a lot of insecurity, a fear of society, a fear of law enforcement. So slavery has made a major impact where the low self-esteem is consistently reoccurring.
See, these are the type of things, these are the type of talking points as a black man, and my ancestors are from this area, bro. As a black man, when I hear black people say things like, and I know black people are gonna get frustrated with me, but bro, I'm gonna be authentic. I'm gonna say it, bro. I don't understand when black people say that. When my people say the traumas that happened in slavery from so long ago is affecting us today. Now I see systemically, but I'm talking about, they're talking about psychologically and mentally. It affects us, like he said, our self-esteem and things like that, bro. I grew up in a predominantly black area, bro. My whole Washington D.C., PG County, Maryland area. That's exactly where I grew up, bro. Hardly around any white folk, bro. I didn't have any self-esteem issues. I didn't even know what it was like to experience racism until I went to college in Daytona Beach, Florida, when it was predominantly white out there. And I went to a black college, and I heard all my friends' different experiences that they didn't have with white folk and stuff like that. And I'm like, bro, I used to feel so comfortable walking in a whole crowd of white people because I never experienced racism because I was from a predominantly black area. So if that was a situation, that was the case, if slavery was to affect us mentally all the way back those years until now, then why is it that I felt comfortable in a whole group of white people when I first went to college in Florida when I was 18, 19 years old? If that makes any sense. It should have passed along. I hope I'm making sense. I hate when I feel like I'm not making sense. But this is what this live stream is for. It's going to help me be a better orator and think on the spot and say things and be articulate, you know what I mean, in a moment.
I think for me, growing up in Los Angeles, California in the early 1960s, there was a stereotype that I didn't want to be black. I didn't want to be African because we come from Africa or we're slaves. So I want to be a Chinese boy. I want to be Bruce Lee. So growing up like that, I didn't like myself and who I was. I didn't like the color of my skin or the way that I spoke. So I emulated other people. I wanted to be something that I was not.
It's very saddening when you can literally only go back a couple generations and then it's like the documents just don't exist. There's no record. It's like, my family has completely been erased. In that same point too, in the time that we've been here, we've created a incredible culture, and we have so many things to be proud of. And I always reframe the narrative myself, and I speak of my ancestors that were enslaved as, doctors and healers, and it's like, we were taken because we were talented,
right?
Because we had skills to offer.
At the same time, some people don't believe that some people don't believe in the slave trade. Some people believe we are indigenous to this land. There are some people who actually believe that. I would like to believe that. That sounds great because as black people in America, we don't really have a sense of identity like that, even though we want to. We've created, like you said, we've created amazing culture. We started rock and roll, jazz, blues, R&B, hip hop. We've created these different music genres within our culture. You got soul food. We take our lemons and make it to lemonade. If you know the history of soul food, if you know the history of why we eat like chitlins and why we eat pork and why we eat chicken and things like that, is because it was from the scraps that the slave owners used to give the slaves. You know what I'm saying? But as far as the slave trade thing, many people believe that the Europeans came over here and just enslaved the indigenous people of this land, which was the black people, because we had already been here before Columbus. So a lot of people believe that. I would like to believe that, so I can feel like that I'm indigenous to something and not from some continent, and I don't even know where my people came from. The continent, they say West Africa, but how am I supposed to know exactly where in West Africa? If you go to West Africa, they have their own tribes. Even within their own country, they have different tribes. So even if I'm from a certain country in West Africa, I still don't even know my tribe. You know what I'm saying?
Country, so
And still building.
and still building. That's something to take pride in. So
Can they disagree a step forward?
Slavery didn't affect my family, but we did suffer a different type of slavery back home. Like we went through colonization.
Okay.
Like
I'll talk about that.
I am Bamileke. There was a massacre of Bamileke. You guys can look it up. They killed like more than 300,000 of my people because we didn't want to assimilate to the French culture. But it's still nothing compared to what you guys' ancestor like been through, you know?
I wouldn't want to minimize that pain, though. What you just said hurt me. That 300,000 people were killed because they would not conform to the colonization of the French people. So that is just as painful and hurtful as the trauma that we suffered here in America.
That's facts. That's facts.
Share the same experience that you have went through and your family, even though we also had our own type of slavery.
South
we had a lot of it
Africa.
at the time.
Hey, listen, I love South Africans, bro. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's about, like she said, she's talking about apartheid right now. I don't know if it's because of apartheid that I feel like I can relate to the South Africans, but I just feel like South Africans are such a beautiful people. I love South Africans. South African women are beautiful too, you know what I'm saying? But the South African people, I don't know, like I just feel like those are my people. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I relate with them. Never been there, but just, I don't know, I be watching South African movies and TV shows and series. I love South Africa. I love it.
Time, where the Dutch people took over and they wanted to just have South Africa, Namibia, and I think other countries where we could only just speak Dutch. It's somehow still happening even now. There's like a place in South Africa where it's called Oranje, and it's just Dutch people there. No black person is even allowed there. So we still somehow feel that oppression even now, but it's nothing compared to what your ancestral history, has gone through. I'm somehow happy that you guys have forgiven it, even though you haven't forgotten it. Have you forgiven it? I mean, like your face is like.
Do that. But me personally, no, I haven't. But I want to work through the change. But no, I have not forgiven because it's a system that's still going on. And from what I'm hearing from you guys, there's a system that's still going on in Africa as well, and it's a war on us.
Racism is the main cause of poverty among black people in America.
Oh, by the way, I don't want to minimize what slavery has done and how tragic and treacherous it is. I grew up with a dad that made me learn my history. I know a lot about black history, especially the black American history and all the things that we've gone through and overcome. So I'm not minimalizing slavery and its effect on what it has done to my people as a whole. I'm saying on a micro level, on a macro level, yeah, systemically, redlining, things like that. Yeah. But what I'm saying is the things that were done in slavery to my people, they say that trauma was passed along. And I'm telling you, in my opinion, I'm not sure if it was passed along because I had to be taught about that. I literally had to be taught about that trauma. You know what I'm saying? I did. So, yeah. Maybe I was,
Racism is a very big issue that talking about it, I'm really trying to be careful to not like say anything that will be insensitive. If opportunity is right here, they will give it to people of other race than African American and Africans too. So if there's a job that maybe have math requirement, I feel like they'll pick an Asian person, or they believe, oh, African Americans will not dress appropriate, so they will pick another person. They will always like pick people that are not black over people that are black.
And I also think, I think the crucial like missing point when we talk about economic disparity, time. Time is the most valuable currency. And if you have like a stock that's like the American dream is the stock, and you know, during all that time, all that asset, the American dream was appreciating, and you're not allowed to take out business loans, you're not allowed to read, you're not allowed to write, you had to first fight to become 3/5 of a citizen, then you got Jim Crow, and then you got everything else. It's like, you're now having to buy in at a price so high because the time is irreparable. You can't get that back. One black person today cannot, in one lifetime, achieve what generations of white families were able to do simply because they didn't have to compete with us to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, not
I
only
agree
that,
with you
yeah,
too.
not only that, they also have nepotism as well. They have the good old boys club and things like that. The powers that be, they're all white. You know, every time I look at like the CEOs of the richest people in the world, they're all white folk. It's like they all just, bro, I'm like, my nigga, you can't have no black person up there, bro. Like, white people make up only like, I think like 15% of the world. Everybody else is people of color, whether they're, you know, black or Asian or whatever the situation is. Most people are melanated people. So how in the world are they the leaders of the whole entire world? It makes no sense to me. So when you have people who look like you, and you're already at the top and things like that, you continue to keep it like that, keep that engine running, because it's like, it's not like that we can't achieve their wealth that they've achieved. I believe we can, but because they have so much and they look out for each other, they keep it there. Basically, that's why it's hard for us to achieve what they have achieved in one lifetime. Like he said, is because they're up top and then they keep it up there, bruh, continually, like it's a strategic thing. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, how do you know this? Just look at the freaking people who run the world, bro. I'm telling you, they will not let a person who looks like me. Now, whatever God does, God could do anything. But I'm saying the powers that be, they will not let a person who looks like me get too powerful without some checks and balances. You know what I mean?
Like,
Yeah, I was thinking, just like you said, from a historical standpoint, we start with slavery, then that's centuries, generations of stolen labor, like you said. Then we get into Jim Crow, which is just an extension of that. Then we have redlining, we have mass incarceration, we have events like the bombing of Tulsa and Rosewood in Florida, and all these different examples of our wealth being decimated. And I don't say that to come from a defeatist or a victim mindset, but I think if we just have an honest conversation about history and what we've gone through when we've been here, racism is definitely a big part of that. And
the crazy thing is about it too, and also too at the same time, now that money is digital, they're able to really control everything. It's like a video game. You know, if you say something they don't like you to say, or if you're not in line. See, before, everything wasn't trackable like it is today. You got the internet. Now they made money internet. They're not saying that money is internet, but they basically made money internet. If you understand what I'm saying is this money is synthetic. It's not real. It's digital. You can't even touch it anymore. You got a card, you tap it, boom, and then you see your money in your bank account go from $10 to $5. It's not real, bro. So now, if they didn't have control before, they sure have control now. Because not only it's digital, they track. With a click of a button, they can just wipe out your bank account, bro. You got $2 million. With a click of a button, it can just be all drained. Because, for whatever reason. Or they can just freeze it. So, if financial powers, I think financial power, they always say, oh, we as black people, we got to get our finances together. We got to do this. It's all digital. They have the power. They're controlling the button that freezes your account or not. That freezes your money or not. It's all digital. Maybe that's why everybody's trying to get into cryptocurrency and all that. And I don't know much about that. But I do know about the currency, that the American dollar, the U.S. dollar, and it's not tangible anymore. You can't hide it under your mattress. So I mean, you can, but not really. I'm not saying that regular money that you touch is not available, but once you try to make a purchase over $10,000, the IRS or something like that, the government's coming for you. Basically, they go on trying to figure out how you get all this money. You know what I mean? Like how you got $30? How you spend $30 on this? They're gonna come after you. They're gonna, you know what I'm saying?
A lot of successful Black Americans, a lot of millionaires, a lot of business owners, but they're exceptions for sure for a reason. And there's a big difference between income and wealth. I would like to challenge the ideal that African Americans are lazy or that we don't have a good work ethic. I think there's this perception that we're here, we're in America. How are we not doing better for ourselves?
He almost looks Caribbean. He almost looked like a lot of Jamaicans or Caribbean people look like him actually. Even with the soft hair.
I thought I was going to be the only one staying. I was going to be like, oh, I'm about to be like Kanye West. But okay, there's a lot of things we can use as an excuse to hold us back, to not to reach our potential. But it's up to us to look past that. Like me coming from Africa, I came here to better my life, my family. I'm the only one here. And since I have been here, there's a lot of bad things that happen to me. There's also a lot of good things that happen to me. Us African or African American, we need to look past racism and just focus on our own goal. Like, what do we want to achieve? We need to stop
complaining,
using the word racism when we don't get something or when something don't go our way, and just keep trying. So
let me jump in real quick.
Yeah, I agree
no
with
disrespect,
that.
but racism exists, and I have to acknowledge it. And I can't just ignore it. But what I can do is not buy into the system. If I want to do something, let me be the entrepreneur. What I believe happened in the 1960s is that we started looking for equal rights, to be equal with other people. And what we stopped doing, and I heard you talk about Tulsa, we stopped using the Black-owned businesses.
Yep.
Now, because you guys got to understand, the Fair Housing Act in 1968, I'm 5 years old. That's when we could move off the east side of LA and move into other subcultures. So what I wanted to do at 8 years old was go to IHOP. I didn't want to go to the ma and pa restaurant anymore. I want to go to, let's go eat at the hotels. So what we did is stop supporting each other and started supporting corporate America. So the racism plays a major part, but we don't have to buy into it.
I've been waiting to disagree with you, my brother. I'm waiting patiently. The thing is, even though I want to disagree with you, I get where you're coming from. When I see Black people talking about racism, all that stuff, I'm like, what is wrong with these people? You guys have food, you have EBT, all this thing, and you're here shouting about somebody is racist too. Just leave that person and move on. I feel that way. Like, why are they always complaining? But when Black Lives Matters started happening, I sat down, I said, I need to actually know why these people are pained. And if we look at the history, what they've done to them, if you actually sit down, watch some documentaries, how they were maltreated, I don't think if I'm actually born, I will forgive those people. I don't care. It's easier for us Africans that were raised in Africa to feel like they're complaining because we were raised through struggle. I barely even have water, and you have water, you're complaining. But then, it's not about the basic necessity or about how we are raised. We are raised I don't want to say way better. We might not have resources, but there are some way, our own people will not look down on us or put us behind. So it's in they're nurtured that way. They just can't overlook it. And if you sit down and watch everything that the forefathers have been through for real, I changed my mind. No, they need to be angry. However, they should still move forward.
I mean, we have police brutality back home too.
Sure.
We have if you go to Cameroon and then you see how the police officer treat us, and they're Black just like us, you're not even gonna believe it. And in Cameroon we have this. Have you guys heard of the word tribalism? So
yeah, it happens in Nigeria.
Yeah, so we do get oppressed too. And
I agree.
So when I'm saying we need to look past that, I'm not saying forget what happened to you guys or me. At the end of the day, we cannot just sit and just grieve on the past. We have to be able to move on.
There's a group of Black people who all they do is just blame racism, right? And I was talking to my wife about this. There's a group of Black people that when something happens, they'll riot. You know what I'm saying? There's two. Basically, there's two sections of Black folk in my opinion. You got the ones who they love to complain, and you got the ones who do something about it. And the ones who do stuff about it are like far less in number, far less percentage than the ones who just like to complain. As black people, we quit to complain about what white folk don't do and this and that. You know what I'm saying? And rightfully so. Like I be on that type of time too. Like man, these people be on some bull crap, right? But at the same time, if you complain and then you riot when something goes bad, like they mistreat one of our kind, which rioting is in my opinion, the rioting is the language of the oppressed when they're not heard, right? So it makes sense. I understand it. I don't even criticize when they riot. I'm not saying they should, but it's understandable because I get angry too, and I don't riot obviously, but the point I'm making is I'm trying to be more articulate in these things. I'm trying to learn how to be more articulate when I'm speaking in the moment with no edits. All right. When the riots are over, when the laws are changed and different things happen and it's peaceful again, these black people, that the same ones that's riot, the same ones complain all the time, they don't do anything to support each other's businesses. They don't do anything to try to build infrastructure and stuff like that. They just go on about life and just be materialistic and buy this and buy hair and buy this. And then when something else comes again, we all come together and complain again. Then once it's settled down, we go back and live our regular lives. We're not really caring for one another. We're not investing into each other's businesses and things like that. We just go on about life. Then you got the group of black people who's like, all right, we need to do something. But that's like 2%. That's just my opinion.
But not forget, if I could choose a place to live, it would obviously be my country.
Dang, his name is Prosper. This guy's name is Prosper. That's crazy.
Of my country, but right now, my country is not the best choice for me. There's a little genocide going on in Cameroon right now. So many innocent lives are being taken. If I was still in my country, the opportunity that I have here, I would not have those opportunities there.
Hip hop reinforces stereotypes about the black community.
Yeah, it does though. I ain't gonna lie, it does.
In South Africa, we have our own version of hip hop, so we call it kwaito. So they would rap in our own language in different, we call it vernac. So back home, it kind of did reinforce some stereotypes because now when you go out in the world, people will just classify you under one group. And growing up, also looking at American entertainment, looking at the hip hop that's done here, I'm like, oh well, you're rapping about drugs, you're rapping about this. Of course it's going to happen. Of course you're going to go to jail. But getting older, you see the culture as well of hip hop. I had to understand that there's a culture within that.
I was alive when hip hop started, and it was during a time where people rapped about what they saw, what they wanted in life. And then it became where people rapped about what they had been through, what they had gotten over.
Yeah.
You know, used to sell drugs, used to hurt people, but now this is who they are. And I think it's gotten into now, and in our day and age now, it's where people are glorifying and wanting to pretend that these are the things that they do on a daily basis when it's not. So it went from storytelling to now really it's truly storytelling, but it's unhealthy for our culture.
I don't want to on my radio and all I'm hearing is I put a bullet in it, something. Like I'm like, that's what you people do. No, like, and then it's like it's all about like talking about female body type, the booty, the thing. Like, don't talk about my booty like that. So I don't want to listen to something that portray me as a female that way, or something that is talking about how you put bullets in my head. Like, if you actually do not come to America and see for yourself, you will think that most African Americans are carrying guns around and they just shoot randomly, or they just grab your ass or something like that. That's the way the music portray them. And music is a very important element in our society because it influences a lot of people, both young and adult. And then they kind of see all those stuff and they act like that, even though that's not what they really want to be. They act like that and behave like that. Like if all these rappers are your role model, then you want to be like them. You want to be cool too. So in the end, it's about like the people that are packaging the music, and sometimes about trend is what people want to hear.
The American dream is only for white people.
He walking by so. Okay, all right.
I believe that the American dream is only for white people because it says equal. And when we talk about equal, there's no equality between the 1%, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Trumps, and the people who really run the media and things of that nature. So for black people growing up in America and living in America, we could become rich, we could become wealthy, but we are not on the equal playing field of white America. The system of white supremacy, which is in the law enforcement, which is in the judicial system, which is in the prison industrial association, also in the politics. We are not equal in any of those terms.
That's true. That's true, because even if you look if you look at just politically, right? I don't even know the right terminology, right? But politically, if you just look at, when they be all the politicians be in the court hearing and stuff like that, it's just a room full of white folk. You don't see no melanated person there. There's be a room full of white folk. Like that's all America's made of.
When I was back there and when you were speaking, I started thinking like, could we ever actually, as black people, have the American dream here in America? And I don't know if we really can, I'm trying to be careful with my words, but I do think there needs to be a degree of separatism. Like black people, we really need to have our own, to fully take part in that dream.
This is their system.
Yeah.
Why would we dream of being equal in a system that wasn't designed for us?
You know what I don't understand about us though? It's like we complain so much. Listen, bro, I'm more on the side of the complaining black person more than you think I am. But as an entrepreneur, as somebody who tries to take accountability for everything, I try not to just make excuses. I try to always find a solution. If you're going to complain, if you think America is not the best place to be, then why are we still here? That's the question. I even asked myself that when I experienced racism from cops, when they've pulled me over. I've been pulled over many times and, been profiled and, I've been mistreated, as I got older. Like I grew up in a predominantly black area, but when I moved to the white area and stuff like that in Florida for a time period, I understood what racism was, right? I actually experienced it. It wasn't passed on trauma, in my opinion, from slavery, but I started experiencing racism from, white folk in Florida. But the point I'm making is, if it's that bad, then why not move away? You see what I'm saying? Like, obviously it's not that bad if you don't move away. For example, the Africans who come over here, wherever they was from, it must have been that bad that they came over to America to try to get opportunity. The Mexicans, the fact that they left their home area and they came to America, it must have been that bad in Mexico that they came to America for some opportunity. It's not all bad. And I'm not dismissing or belittling the things that we go through systemically. Trust me, I'm black. I've experienced a lot of it. You see what I'm saying? But it's like, if it's that bad, wouldn't we move like them to go somewhere else? Why don't we go to the different countries in Africa for I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. But I'm still empathetic towards what people are saying. But I'm always trying to just be a problem solver and solutions. You know what I mean?
American dream, at least the way that I define it, is, freedom of opportunity, freedom to choose what I want to do, freedom to acquire wealth the same way that anybody else can. Obviously, we're fighting the tides of time on that and our circumstances, but it's hard because it's hard to honor that, but then also want more for myself. And I think that as black people, we're always teeter-tottering on that line of like, well, am I American? Like, do I get the American dream, or do we just tear all this down and build something new? White people are not the only people entitled to the American dream ever. Yeah. And I think that that's why we're all here, because our ancestors
fought for it,
made it so that we can stand here and pursue that American dream.
I wouldn't have been here if it meant that it was not for everyone. I wouldn't have even entered America. I feel like not just African, but other people as well in different countries. And from what I have seen,
I'm not gonna lie, she sound nervous the whole time. I didn't want to really. I ain't want to address it, but she sound like she's trembling when she talks, like she's really nervous. And I get it. You know, these videos get millions of views, so I understand. I guess, but yeah, she just seems so nervous, and it's okay. It's okay.
And I've seen other people, even Africans and African Americans, succeeding in their own way, and that's why I feel like you said, you can interpret the American dream in a different way, whatever industry or whatever it is that you're focusing on, because there is a level of opportunity there. There is some way that you can be successful. You know, talking about Trevor Noah, you know, who took over The Daily Show, it wouldn't have been possible for him coming in as an African. He got his American dream. It made us as well, other Africans, believe that it is possible.
The American dream writes his check. So he gets to have wealth or whatever it is that he's experiencing, but the American dream is the one who writes his check, not him.
I agree with you. I agree with you. But do you see how we would put it as he
And they could take that check back whenever they want.
had his American dream, even though someone writes his check. But for him, or for some of us looking at it on the other side, that's his American dream, because his goal was to get there. The biggest cultural shock I saw coming here was definitely the lifestyle, because the lifestyle I saw of America, especially Los Angeles, was portrayed as a very rich lifestyle. And of course, I came here as a student, and coming here, living here, and seeing the reality of it, seeing different homeless people, disadvantaged people, was really a cultural shock for me, because I didn't expect to see that. And I guess also the way people were handling each other, because coming in as an African, I thought people were together. But since being here, I saw that there was a huge divide, or there is still a huge divide within the African American community themselves.
If he had stayed in South Africa, would he have the same opportunity that he had here?
No.
Like, you know, so corporate is writing his check, but like us growing up, the reason we move here is because we don't have it better back home. Like me, like for me, I'm the first person ever in my family in America. Everybody else is back home. Everybody is depending on me.
And that's what I think. I think a lot of times as black people in America, we I'm trying to say this. I'm trying to be careful about what I say. We haven't, because this is the worst that we've experienced in this lifetime, in our generation, because like our ancestors experienced slavery, which is worse than everything. But I'm talking about our ancestors who were slaves would probably be looking at us like, why are y'all complaining? I'm just being real. These people are from Africa, and they're saying like, you don't really understand how good y'all got it. And I be thinking about that sometimes too. Like, I've seen like Mexican families come over here, bunk up in the same house, like a 1-bedroom apartment, 6 dudes in one 1-bedroom apartment. They stack their bread together. They start buying real estate. They start businesses, whether it be lawn business or whatever business they start in. They all work together, and then they start, and then they have like, they be well off, like they be having like successful businesses. How's people from a whole nother country who came from poverty come over here, do group economics, build their bread together, and then they're richer than us black people over here? I don't know. I just feel like us as black people, we could do so much better, and we spend more time complaining, which our complaints are valid complaints, but we spend more time complaining than actually trying to come together and find a solution. Because we see every other culture that comes over here, besides like the ones who are Indian and the Asians who get loans from the government. I'm talking about like maybe the Hispanics, like the Mexicans, the ones who are illegal, who aren't getting loans and things like that. Or maybe they are, I'm not sure. But one thing I know is they practice group economics. They live together. They don't have no pride. They will be all up in that house together. They'll pack up in a car together. They don't care, and they'll build their bread together. And they'll work hard together and build that bread. But we always want to have our own house and this and that. And I'm for black people, but and I'm just saying, like, I just feel like we need to do better.
All of them, my mom, she's dying to come here. Like, she willing to do anything.
By the way, you see how he said his mother wants to come to America so bad? Us black, that's what I'm saying. It's bad. Yes, it's bad. It's a lot of bad stuff, but it can't be that bad to the point where, like, how his mother wants to come here so bad. We don't want to go anywhere else that bad. So obviously, it's not that bad. And that sounds so crazy saying. I know so many. I just wish I had people here to debate with, because I want people to challenge the things I'm saying so that I can clarify what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's not bad. I'm not saying systemically we don't go through crazy stuff, but it's not extreme to the point where we're leaving. So that's why I believe we need to, our complaints are valid, but figure out a solution together. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know.
Just for her to be in America. So for me, when I look at those like little things, I'm like, yeah, American dream is for everybody, you know? Like, yeah, we might not have the same opportunity as the white people, but there's still that little chance that a lot of us back home are willing to take just to get here.
I trust law enforcement.
I don't have a thing to say.
All right, can the disagreeer step forward?
That's kind of sad. We don't trust law enforcement, though. They should be here to protect us.
I got married to a young lady who did 15 years in prison for a robbery she didn't commit. I myself was incarcerated for 6 months for a burglary that I couldn't have committed because I was in prison. So in 1987, I'm doing 19 months in prison. When I came home in 1988, I was given a burglary charge and I had to sit 6 months. And the judge did not kick it out because there's no way I could have done it. He kicked it out because they didn't serve me the warrant while I was in prison. So I don't trust them. They lie and they do things, and it affects our people. So many people I know who have been wrongfully arrested, wrongfully convicted, and they actually lie on the stand, so there's no trust.
As you guys know, I am from Richmond, Virginia. It was the capital of the Confederate. I have been brutally abused by the police there. Like, personally, I was at the river on the 4th of July. I don't smoke, I don't do none of that. The police come and arrest me because I look like a drug dealer. Like, they arrested me.
What? The stereotype.
Then when I was in high school, my senior year, my father went to jail over a car accident. And I was left alone at 17 years old. I was grateful. One of my teachers took me in and like raised me. I try to stay away from the police as much as possible.
First of all, they're human beings, and I think that just because you put a badge on doesn't magically bewitch you with like integrity and a desire to actually help the people around you. I think a lot of times police culture comes from police families. It comes from like legacy lines and this whole like kind of like culture about stuff. I mean, I don't trust them any more than I would trust any other person. They haven't earned that necessarily, especially not as an institution. In its purest form, I think it's necessary, but they have a lot of living up to that to do and to make up for if they're gonna be trusted.
I've seen law enforcement here on social media and seeing how they treat people of color, you know, from like hitting them. I mean, George Floyd, you know, rest in peace, but just seeing that from my experience being here, I was scared, you know, like every time I'd see a cop pass by, I'm like, okay, I better make sure I'm driving okay, you know, because I don't want to be stopped, or make sure you're not in any harm's way, you know. But it's sad to feel that pressure every time you see a cop going by, and even if they trying to help, but I wouldn't even want that help because of what I've been seeing on social media, you know, and also seeing the case of people being wrongfully, you know, taken to prison. That's like unfair. Like, what type of research are you doing before you arrest people?
And I immediately thought about the history of the police too, just tracing that back to slave patrols, which became our modern day police departments. And
Oh, the fact that like if you have a felony, you can't vote. Like that to me is like, talk about the loss of the American dream. Like you are a citizen of this country, you should always have a right to vote.
It's crazy.
We are obsessed with race in America.
Obsessed with race in America?
I think that word obsessed is such an interesting word, and I think that the way that that question is framed is almost as if it's like the onus is on us, like we're obsessed with race too much. Like, no, white people are obsessed with race in this country. They've made their laws based on it. They've cast us out because of it. They've like destroyed entire groups of people because of it. So, I mean, we're just living in the ripple effects of the stones that were cast in the pond of history. So we're just reacting to it. So we would rather just be human beings and American citizens and you know, people that are pursuing an American dream. We'd rather not have to think about race. But
well, a lot of times what people don't really realize is that if it wasn't going to be racism, it was going to be tribalism. You know, as humans, and I've talked about this before, I don't want to keep talking about it over and over again, but as humans, we have this thing that we do where we group ourselves and then we group ourselves against others, right? It's like we want to have a rival. We want to feel like we're a part of something, right? A team or something, and then we want to go against another team, right? Like, so basically where I'm from, it's like in the DMV area, with Maryland, PG County area, it's like there are gangs in certain areas, but it's based on the street. The gangs are based on the street that you're from. So it'll be this street versus that street. You know what I'm saying? Over there in, you know, Africa, it's tribalism. So it's that tribe versus that tribe. They look almost the same color, but as humans, it's like we do this thing where it's like we like to differentiate ourselves from another and say that, okay, we look like this or we are like this and we're better than you guys, and now you guys are our enemies. So to me, in my opinion, if it wasn't race, it would be tribalism. It would be something that we figure out as humans on how to separate ourselves from one another on a group level, right? So the reason why racism is so prevalent, in my opinion, is because it's the easiest indicator of a difference. You got white people, you got black people. We are like the polar opposites of each other. So it's just, to me, it's just a form of tribalism, or a form of differentiating. You know what I mean? Like, if that makes any sense. Hopefully it does, because I know what I'm thinking, but hopefully I can articulate it in such a way where it makes sense to everybody else.
We did not draw first blood on that.
What else do you expect?
Yeah, like, I
given the
mean,
history,
I'm not
like,
obsessed.
Yeah.
For me, being in America give me an opportunity to like meet and like discover so many different culture that I would never see if I was in my country. I would just like maybe hear about it on the news. Yes, I agree. I think they are very obsessed with race. Even when you do like an easy application, like it doesn't matter what application you do, they want to know your race. They want to know, you know, why they don't have a category for Africans.
Exactly.
You know?
That's why I'm checking out every time.
They want to know everything.
The thing that pisses me off the most is that when they see you and they be like, oh, you have an accent. Where are you from? Like, who cares where I'm from? Just tell me this thing and let me keep going.
And when you tell them that you're African, they be like, what country?
Yeah, they're so obsessed with where you're from.
She be like Wakanda.
Like,
I don't believe that there's an obsession about race in America. I believe that race is a distraction to hide the power, the wealth, and the access to it. So a lot of times there's something put on the table, like a rock being thrown, and I hold my hand, and that's the racism between black and whites, between blacks and Hispanic, and other cultures have come here. We'll talk about race just so that we don't have access to the power and the wealth, and I think it's done on purpose. There's a power that allows us to talk about race if we don't look past it.
some of the question prompts that I see differently, and then when I hear somebody say it, I'm like, that actually makes sense coming from their perspective. So it's been really beautiful having this conversation with you guys. You guys are very knowledgeable, and I've learned a whole lot from each and every one of you today.
Going into this with like the title of the series, like African versus African American, I think that like people were gonna come in thinking that we were gonna be like guns blazing, but this is such a beautiful display of unity. I love it. It like gave me so much life today.
Yeah, this was good. This was good.